Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello, I'm Wayne Berry, and welcome to this episode of Top Gun Sales. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the inside secrets, if you will, of prospecting and finding more sales opportunities. So, it's an interesting thing. Many small to medium-sized business operators know that they would like to increase their sales, but they're not quite sure how to do it. So they spend time on social media, they spend time and money on getting their website right. They spend time doing all sorts of things, but they don't actually get onto being proactive with their prospecting. They don't actually pick up the telephone and call people and make appointments to see them. Nor do they, in many cases, handle incoming inquiries very well at all. And I would put handling incoming inquiries and also responding to requests for information from their website under the heading of prospecting. Prospecting, I call it making your own luck. I mean, why would you wait for the telephone to ring? Why would you wait for an inquiry to come from your website? Why wouldn't you just pick up the telephone and make a call? Well, it's a good question. Why don't salespeople prospect more? And I guess you probably know the answer already, because possibly this is your concern as well. Most salespeople do not prospect proactively, do not get on the telephone and call people, do not go out in the real world and call into businesses door to door, which, by the way, I generally don't recommend as the best way of prospecting, because of fear of rejection. I remember in the early stages when I went out prospecting, and back in those days, and if you've seen previous episodes here, you will know that my background is a very real world of selling. I'm not a theorist. I have written 5 books, yes, on sales, sales management, and negotiating. I come from the real world of sales, and in the early days, I would go out prospecting door to door for a company called the NCR Corporation. I was 17 years of age, but really enthusiastic about selling. And I would get lots of rejection, but because my self-esteem was reasonably good and my goals were clearly set and I wanted to be successful in sales, I handled the rejection reasonably okay, but I was still getting knockback after knockback after knockback. And I used to have to fill in my daily report, and I used to write the full details on the shop I was calling on, because it was retail. I was selling cash registers. And I used to write in the report, not interested, not interested, not interested. No, I would go back, and I, of course, had to give my weekly report, my actually daily report, to my sales manager. And he sat me down one day and he said, "Why, an interesting thing here. I see a trend." I said, "Oh, yeah?" He said, "You seem to write on here quite frequently, not interested, not interested, not interested." And I said, "Well, there's a lot of people out there, they're not interested." He said, "Look, has it ever occurred to you that possibly your approach is not interesting?" Now, that hadn't actually occurred to me, because nobody had actually taught me what to say when prospecting. And I think, again, that's one of the major challenges that salespeople and business people have about prospecting. What the heck do you say if you go in face to face? What the heck do you say if you get on the telephone and make calls to people? Is there a certain strategy or technique that we should use when in fact we're prospecting? And let me tell you up front, the answer is very definitely yes. But what do most people do? Number one, they don't pick up the phone, they don't make the calls because of fear of rejection. And the major reason that we get rejected is because we don't have a good approach. I see quite clearly that when we teach people a strategy and equip them with a script, they're much, much more successful, and they don't get rejected as much, anywhere near as much. In fact, the strategy that we teach and the scripts that we generally help people write, we say make 10 calls, get 5 appointments. That's not bad. That's like 1 in 2. Make 10 calls, get 5 appointments. Now, even just around about a week or so ago, a young man who learnt this strategy, and we helped him perfect He was one of a number of, in fact, 6 people on a program from his company in country New South Wales. And he's on our remote program, on our online program. And we taught him this particular script, and we strategized and we perfected the script for him. We said, well, go out there and test it. Now, don't just test it on 10 people. Make 100 calls and then look at your ratios, because don't expect the first few calls to be, exactly what you want them to be. Well, he didn't take my advice on that, and he made 10 phone calls. And he phoned and he said, Wayne, I made 10 phone calls. And I said, well, you need to make more than 10 phone calls. He said, yeah, but I made 10 phone calls. I said, well, all right, how'd you go? He said, I didn't get 5. I said, oh, well, it's like, he said, I got 8. Really? You got 8? That's pretty good. He said, yeah, I got 8. Is that good? I said, well, absolutely, that's good. I said, just go do more. This is pretty good. Anyway, he called me back the next day and he said, the 2 that I missed out on, I was really concerned about. So I phoned them back and I used a better approach, a little bit more polished, and I got them too. So he got 10 out of 10. That wasn't bad. Made 10 calls to get 10 appointments. Now, you got to contrast that with the approach that he was taking and the rejection that he was feeling, and how that was damaging his self-esteem. Because none of us like rejection. So, when we are rejected on an ongoing basis because we go out there in a very haphazard way, trying to do some prospecting, and we get rejected, that's probably the greatest cure to prospecting. It stops salespeople, it stops business people actually making calls. And I call it creating your own luck. The more proactive you are, the more skilled you are in your prospecting, you'll have a never-ending list of people that you can be speaking to on a regular basis, presenting your solutions to, gaining business, and feeling pretty terrific about yourself. So the number one reason most salespeople, most business people aren't proactive with their prospecting is through fear of rejection. Fairly obvious, really. So I always suggest a certain degree of mental preparation. Mental preparation is so important because it is how we feel up here that determines how we actually sound and come across when we're on the telephone or when we are face to face. Now let me just back up and qualify a comment I made before. Making calls door to door, face to face, is probably the least efficient way of proactive prospecting. Why is that? Well, for a number of reasons. Number one, if you bowl into a business without an appointment, I personally think that's fairly insulting for the person that you're calling on, because it assumes they have nothing better to do than to in fact see you and allow you to interrupt their day and take up their time. So if somebody would drop in on me, I find that fairly insulting to me, because I respect my time. I'm busy, and I only see people by appointment. The fact of the matter is, all professionals work by appointments. You just don't roll into your doctor or your dentist or your lawyer or your accountant and say, I'm here, like, see me. Professionals all work by appointment. It also respects their time. It shows that you respect your time if you only work by appointment. The other reason I suggest you don't just roll into a business and prospect, and that is because when you roll into a business, often you'll be confronted by somebody who sees you, maybe a receptionist or maybe somebody who just intercepts you as you walk in. And if you don't know specifically who to ask for, and you say something like, I'd like to speak to the person who looks after, blah, 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 whatever your product or service is, you're likely to get the signals going out, salesperson, alarm, don't show this person through. So you're often going to be rejected by what I call the gatekeeper if you do that kind of prospecting. You're much, much better off, I believe, much more efficient use of your time to do telephone prospecting rather than face-to-face prospecting. Now, you can use face-to-face prospecting for finding out who the person is, and we'll talk a little bit more about how do you find out who to speak to in a little while. But I think it is much more professional to use telephone prospecting these days. Now, mental preparation. What sort of mental preparation should we do? Well, I'm going to give you a few suggestions here. Number one, consider the best method to use, and I think I've covered that fairly well already. I'm a great believer in telephone prospecting versus face-to-face. And if you are using a method that you know works and is proven, and particularly when you work with professionals who will train you in this, and this is what we do all of the time with people all around the world now, we help them with telephone prospecting, we help them design their scripts. If you're working with somebody who says, look, we're very experienced in this and we have a proven system, I suggest go with a proven system. Don't kind of make it up. Consider the best method of doing it. Next one, visualize the outcome you want. Now, the fact of the matter is, you probably have heard that visualization is a very, very powerful way to create the success that we want in our life. Now, some people say, well, this is strange, weird stuff. I'm not into this visualizing stuff. Well, I've got news for you. You are into visualization. You see, what the average salesperson does or the average business owner does when it comes to preparing for prospecting is they do visualize the person that they're going to call on the phone. However, the problem is they visualize that person as busy, not happy to hear from them. They're going to be rude. They're going to brush them off. They have clearly a picture in mind of the kind of person who's going to take the call and then absolutely not going to be interested. Now, you probably heard me say in previous episodes, your outer world is always going to be a reflection of your inner world. I'll say that again. Your outer world will always be a reflection of your inner world. Whatever you believe and see and visualize in here is what you tend to create in your outside world. So if in your mind here you are seeing your prospect as being somebody who isn't contactable, who's not going to be interested to talk with you, who's going to find what you've got of no interest at all, you're going to tend to manifest those sort of people in your life. Could it really be that powerful? And the answer is very definitely yes. Now, if it could be so powerful in a negative way, could it be so powerful in a positive way? And the answer is very definitely yes. So here's what I'm going to suggest. Before you get on the telephone next, take a moment, even close your eyes and consider, this person I'm about to call, they are going to be happy to hear from me. In fact, I can see the smile on their face. They're going to lean in. They're going to be really enthusiastic about what I have to say. I can see them reaching for their smartphone. They're going to look for a time that's suitable for the appointment, and they're going to hang up. They're going to be absolutely happy to have heard from me. Now, you might say, well, hey, could that make a major difference? It absolutely will. If you have the expectation that you're going to find people on the other end of the phone who are going to be happy to hear from you, are going to lean in, are going to be interested, they're going to make an appointment with you, you will tend to create that very, very much. Now, I'm talking for more than 38 years of experience in training sales and business people. It absolutely matters what you hold in your mind here, because you will create that in your outer world. Here's another one, positive self-talk. Now, some people say, well, hang on, this is this strange, weird stuff again, isn't it? It's positive self-talk. Affirmations. You're talking affirmations, Wayne. Yeah, I absolutely am. Well, no, I don't believe in affirmations. I don't believe in, self-talk. I'm sorry, you're already doing it. You're already doing it. That little voice you hear in your head right now saying, what's he talking about? That little voice is self-talk. Now, the question is your self-talk mostly negative or mostly positive? Now, I'm not just talking telephone prospecting. I'm talking in general. Your self-talk, is it negative? Is it positive? Because it makes a major difference. You see, the average salesperson, the average business person who's thinking about prospecting, their self-talk goes a little bit like this. Oh, I really don't want to do this. This is going to be a waste of time. Notice the tone of voice I'm using. They're not going to be interested in this. They're going to reject me. This is a waste of time. I'm going to feel terrible. I think I'll go and have lunch. Seriously, that is the self-talk of somebody who's not going to be very successful with their prospecting. Because what it is, it's affirming the expectation that you have. And if you, in fact, give yourself that negative self-talk, we program ourselves to create those outcomes. So we will behave in a way that conveys to the prospect that we really don't have an expectation that they would be interested. Maybe you've even had this happen. I've had salespeople actually call me and say, "G'day. And by the way, if you're viewing it overseas, this is how we say hello in Australia. G'day. Look, you probably wouldn't be interested in this." And they start, can you believe that? They start their phone call by saying, "You probably wouldn't be interested in this, but I'm calling you about." And of course, straight off I'm thinking, no, you're right, I'm not going to be interested in this. Now, can you believe that? That's like self-talk coming out in the open. But even if you don't say that, the tone of your voice and the way that you speak, if that's the way you've been speaking to yourself, will make a major difference. So what should you do? I suggest replace your negative self-talk with positive self-talk. And this goes for every area of your life. So instead of saying, well, they're not going to like this, say, hey.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.